Hey, what's up, you guys? So, I just wanted to make this very quick video to talk about the US elections from the perspective of a foreign guy like myself. So, as you know, the US elections are coming, and by the time I upload this video, it will be the election day, or yeah, it will actually be the elections day. So, we wouldn't actually know who the winner is. So, I'm just going to talk about it from my own perspective as a foreign guy. And with a little bit of background about myself, I am Lebanese, as you may know from my videos, and I'm a Bitcoiner, and I have this channel which is mostly dedicated to Bitcoin and to topics of economics, Austrian economics, freedom ideas, freedom maximalism, and all these stuff. And if I were to put myself somewhere on the political spectrum, I would call myself libertarian. So I'm not really a conservative, nor am I a liberal or progressive or whatever you want to call it. I'm not a communist, obviously. I'm not a nationalist or anything like that. I'm a libertarian, and I would go as far as to maybe even label myself an anarcho capitalist. So just putting that out there. So for me, even when it comes to Lebanon, when it comes to voting in Lebanon, I've only had the chance to vote two times since I've became eligible to vote. Here in Lebanon, you can just vote when you turn 21 and not 18. So I had the chance to vote twice, and I only voted once, and that was before I actually developed ideas about political theory or economics or stuff like that. So I just voted once, and the second time I had the chance to vote, I did not vote. So I just abstained. And if I were a U.S. citizen, and if I was like eligible to vote in the U.S., even though like if you are in the U.S. right now, in a lot of states you don't have to like present a voter ID. You can actually just go vote even as a foreigner. But if I was like a legitimate voter, a legitimate citizen of the United States, I still wouldn't vote. So I'm just against the idea of voting, and I actually have a whole video about how voting is a waste of time and all of that. But the video was back when I used to make videos in Arabic, so maybe I'll do it again in English. But overall, I'm just gonna put it out there that this is my political point of view, and this is my view on voting, which is not to vote at all, not even put a white paper, a white vote, or like a blank vote. I wouldn't do that even. I would just not go, not participate in the democratic process to begin with. Now, when it comes to the US elections, from my perspective and from seeing things from an outsider, I've only been to the US once. I've been to California, which is kind of a liberal state, so to speak. But obviously, like not everyone in California is a Democrat, is a liberal. Obviously, there's a lot of people who are not. But usually, the majority of California, they vote a Democrat, they vote blue, and they will probably vote blue again in these elections. So I've been to the US once, and I wouldn't say that I know a lot of US citizens or Americans. I know quite a few from my work or from engaging with them online or from meeting people randomly. Some of them come to Lebanon or through my travels or through my connections with Lebanese Americans living in the US, which are, of course, considered American. So I don't know a lot of Americans. I don't know them very closely, so to speak. But I've been following the elections as much as I can. I've been following like the campaigning and the rallying by the two sides. And oftentimes, like we can say that if you come from a libertarian perspective, you would probably agree more with the conservative point of view rather than the democratic one, especially now since the Democrats really took this very extreme form of liberalism, socialism, so to speak. I know they wouldn't like admit it, and they would tell you like stuff like you don't even know what socialism is, or you don't even know what communism is. But the reality is that a lot of the policies they try to put out there, they're very statist interventionist policies. Even if they promise you they want to lower taxes, but the policies that they want to lay out, they are actually um, would increase government spending. And when you increase government spending, that means you need to increase taxes, whether it is in the form of actual taxes, which is direct, taking money from the people and taxing all sorts of things, or is it just through deficit and inflation, like the government spending money and having the central bank print money to cover the spending? So all of this, these are the policies that the Democrats kind of agree with and kind of like want to put out there. Not to say that the Republicans don't have such policies. Obviously, they do, and but the way like um, Trump has been campaigning for the past year or so, it seems like he's making a lot of promises that a lot of us libertarians would be happy with. Like he wants to decrease income tax or even make it zero, which is crazy to even think about. He has been supporting Bitcoin, which is probably not bad for Bitcoiners. He wants to support like the right to self-custody. He went to the Bitcoin magazine, Bitcoin conference. He wants to free Ross Ulbricht, which is by far the best issue you could think of from a libertarian perspective, because there's so much injustice that happened with this guy, and I completely agree with freeing him and letting him go off the hook. Like even if what he did in some metric it is considered criminal, he should not be serving like forever, like a sentence, like a life sentence. So I completely agree with freeing Ross, and Trump said that he will free him on day one if he gets elected. So I'm really hoping he does so. And he has been advocating for rights for like education for your kids, for you to choose the educational path for your kid, for the people who want to homeschool, and he wants to, have less licenses and have less restrictions on businesses. He always talks about how the restriction on business is even worse than taxation, which in a lot of cases it is the case. Now, he wants to do all of that, but to cover the cost of government spending, which would still be a problem, he wants to increase tariffs, and especially on products coming from China, because he would not do that on other countries that are considered allies to the US, like Canada or Australia or the UK or the European Union. So he wants to mainly increase tariffs on other countries, which mainly is on China. And from a libertarian perspective, I don't believe that's a very good policy. I think increasing tariffs does not lead to any type of reducing of costs. It doesn't make American companies better. Like he's trying to peddle that as if we increase taxes on Chinese manufacturers, that means American companies can take that opportunity and produce better stuff. But it's actually not the case, because if you increase the price of the goods that you import from China, um, the guys that were trying to compete with China, like the American companies that were competing with China, they will not have the incentive to lower their prices as well. So we will have, in the US, you will have like very expensive Chinese products, while at the same time you still have very expensive American products. So maybe in some cases, this policy of increased tariffs would allow some local businesses to flourish in very specific cases. But the reality is that we import stuff from other countries because they do it better. That sometimes they just do it better. So a better way for us to combat competition from China, so to speak, is to make business more favorable for local businesses. So decrease taxes on local businesses, reduce all the regulations that they have to abide by, um, uh, just open the market, the free market, free entrance for all these companies to be able to engage in any type of market they want to engage in, to be able to innovate and produce goods and services without any hurdles, without anything like that. So this is how you actually combat Chinese products, so to speak. And also, you can do that by reducing the cost of energy, by allowing the drilling of oil in the US, for example, which is something that Trump is pro drilling. He wants to reduce the cost of energy, which is also great. Okay, so overall, the way Trump has been campaigning is great, except this policy on tariffs. Maybe also like the way he wants to handle immigration and illegal immigration is not ideal. He just wants to somehow resolve the issue of the borders, but that's not really possible by just closing the borders, because the American borders is just very huge and it's so hard to contain. He would probably do a much better job than whatever the Democrats did with all the illegal immigrants coming in. But still, I mean, the best way you can combat this is just to reduce welfare. So if there are illegal immigrants coming into the country, just don't give them a free house, don't give them a free lunch, don't give them free money. And if you don't do that, then they'll just leave, or they wouldn't even come in the first place. But if they come in and they work and they produce for lower cost, and they're just doing their job, the jobs that locals don't want to do, or they want to charge too much for it, then that's a win-win for everyone. You will just get reduced prices, and it will just be great for everyone. So that's how you would combat the issue of immigration. Just look at what other countries have done as well. If you look at a country like Switzerland, they don't have a lot of illegal immigrants, or none at all, because they just don't provide them with welfare. So if you want to go to Switzerland, you should have a reason to be there. You just provide whatever value to the economy. You have a job, you have a business, or whatever, you have a property. You just live there and work there. If you don't, if you just want to leech off of productive people, then you have no place there. Same in Gulf countries. They have, actually in the UAE, you have more immigrants than you have actual locals, but that's never a problem. So the only immigrants who go to the UAE, they are people who actually go there to work, to produce, they have a purpose to be there. They're not there to get a free paycheck. They're not there for a free lunch. So this is how you combat this issue. Lastly, and this is something I want to talk about from not only from a libertarian perspective or a Bitcoiner perspective, but also from a Lebanese perspective. As you may know, here in Lebanon we have the war. We have the war with Israel. We have the problem of Hezbollah and the problem of Israel. It's been an issue for quite some time, but it aggravated in the last year or so when October 7 happened and Hezbollah here in Lebanon was kind of started like aggressing, so to speak, or starting launching rockets against Israel. And the rationale for that was that they wanted to support Gaza. Okay, they just wanted to support them against Israel. And yeah, obviously, like Israel is a natural enemy considered here. And so it is very odd to me that every time we have a Democrat president, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not, but every time there's a Democrat president, wars start piling up again here in the Middle East. So back when Obama was president, we had all these crazy Arab Spring wars, the war in Syria, the war in Libya, the war everywhere, even in Egypt. We had all these different types of wars, and we had the rise of ISIS. And now that the Democrats are back in rule, it just took them a couple of years for the wars to start again. It started in Palestine and Gaza with Israel, and then now we have it here in Lebanon. It aggravated right about the mid of September, and I feel like I don't think the way Trump would handle it is perfect or is ideal, but I think at least, or as far as I understand it, is that the Trump administration back when he was president, they cut off Iran. So I'm not saying that you should cut off Iran and keep funding Israel, but at least just cut off one of the two sides. So they cut off Iran, they stopped funding Iran, they made it hard for Iran to fund all their proxies, whether it is in Lebanon or in Iraq or in Yemen or even in Gaza. So once that happened, Iran essentially became less financially well off, and they were able to fund their proxies less and less. And that actually kind of materialized here in Lebanon. I think when Trump was the president, Hezbollah was weaker and weaker, and they didn't have enough financial support to actually do anything. So this is not ideal, obviously. But one other thing that Trump was doing is that he was trying to normalize relationship with Israel. This is a controversial topic, but this is something that Trump was doing. This was a step towards kind of a peace in the Middle East. I don't know. I really don't know. It's kind of a complicated matter. Obviously, it doesn't really take normalization to bring peace to Palestine and Israel, but at least there was something. There was a step taken. When the Democrats took over, all that stopped. We haven't seen any step or any contribution towards bringing peace to the Middle East when that happened. So, yeah, I think when it comes to the war and the foreign policy of the Middle East by the United States, I think at least Trump can handle it well, can handle it better. It's never ideal. I'm not saying it's completely ideal, but I'm saying it's at least something. It's at least a policy, because the Democrats, we don't even know what kind of policy they have here for the Middle East. They say they support Israel, but they also say there should be a ceasefire. They say all sorts of things that contradict each other. What I want is an administration that actually has a plan for it. Whether the plan is ideal or not my concern, but at least we can know what it wants, what kind of plan they have. So one thing is worse than a bad plan is uncertainty. So even if Trump has a bad plan for the Middle East, it's better than no plan or a complete ambiguity about the Middle East. That is the democratic or the Democrat policy. So this is actually just my 2 cents on the matter. So yeah, this is it. Let's see what will happen. I'm not really sure who will win. I'm not rooting for Trump, but I think it would be better if he won the elections. And I'm not one to make any predictions, but I feel like he's in, at least according to the polls, he is ahead. So yeah, whatever happens. At the end of the day, this is not the end of the world. Politics does not or should not really affect your life too much. I'm just hoping there will be peace everywhere in the world, and whatever happen, the citizens of the U.S. and of the world will experience just better consequences, so to speak. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. If you have any comments or any feedback on this, please leave me a message, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe and subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll see you again in my next video. Thank you.